Nietzsche proposed a new way of understanding humanity. He emphasizes the importance of personal freedom, the rejection of social rules, and the development of our own values. He firmly believed that true self-fulfillment lies in accepting and celebrating our unique individuality. For Nietzsche, each human being is an artist of existence, shaping their own life as a work of art, defining their own values and sense of right and wrong. True freedom, according to Nietzsche, lies in overcoming internal barriers, in the courage to challenge our own limits and rise above our own weaknesses. Although Nietzsche and existentialism may have distinct nuances in their approaches and emphases, they share a common fascination with the individual. The individual, their place in the world, and their ability to transcend the limits imposed by society and the human condition. Nietzsche tells us, "Fear is the mother of morality." In this quote, Friedrich Nietzsche highlights a fundamental aspect of human nature, the influence of fear on our moral decisions. Nietzsche invites us to reflect on how fear, whether of social, religious punishment, or even our own remorse, exerts pressure on our ethical choices and behavior. Fear, as a driver of our moral actions, can be deeply rooted in our individual psyche and social norms. We often conform to moral rules not because we have autonomously chosen them, but out of fear of the negative repercussions that could result from their violation. This fear of consequences can significantly shape our moral values, influencing not only our individual actions but also the moral norms that govern the societies in which we live. Nietzsche goes further by distinguishing two main moral frameworks, the morality of slaves and the morality of masters. These two contrasting moral concepts reflect the values and perspectives of different types of individuals and social groups. The morality of slaves, according to Nietzsche, is often adopted by the oppressed, the weak, and those dominated by external forces such as society or religion. This morality emphasizes virtues like humility, compassion, and submission, as these qualities can be seen as means of surviving or finding some comfort in situations of weakness. On the other hand, the morality of masters represents the values of the strong, the powerful, those who can dictate moral norms rather than endure them. This morality focuses on traits such as strength, assertiveness, and the ability to impose one's will, as these qualities are often associated with domination and control. Thus, according to Nietzsche, fear exerts a considerable influence on the formation and adoption of these different moralities. Individuals and societies may adopt the morality of slaves out of fear of social reprisals or rejection, while others may embrace the morality of masters out of fear of appearing weak or submissive. Friedrich Nietzsche encourages us to question our fears and to reflect deeply on their legitimacy. He invites us to transcend the limits imposed by our fears, to free ourselves from the mentality of the slave, and to adopt a more assertive and courageous attitude characteristic of the morality of masters. Nietzsche urges us to see fear as an opportunity for personal growth rather than an insurmountable obstacle. By questioning our fears and confronting them consciously, we can transcend the self-imposed limitations that keep us in a state of weakness and submission. Instead of fleeing the challenges that frighten us, Nietzsche encourages us to face them boldly, to use them as catalysts to motivate us to become better, stronger, and more confident. Let's take a concrete example to illustrate this concept. Imagine a person who feels a paralyzing fear of public speaking. Whenever they are faced with the prospect of speaking in front of an audience, they are overwhelmed by intense anxiety and an irresistible desire to avoid the situation at all costs. For them, public speaking represents a source of terror and potential embarrassment. However, by adopting Nietzsche's perspective, this person could choose to question their fear and see it as an opportunity for personal growth. Rather than succumbing to their anxiety and fleeing the situation, they could decide to face their fear, prepare meticulously, and practice public speaking. By confronting their fear with courage and determination, they could not only overcome their initial apprehension but also develop renewed self-confidence and the ability to take on new challenges with resolve. From this Nietzschean perspective, it is crucial for the individual to engage in deep introspection to understand the real foundations of their fear of public speaking. Nietzsche would encourage this person to question their beliefs and perceptions, to explore the deep origins of these fears, and to discern whether they are based on a rational assessment of the situation or influenced by external factors such as social expectations or personal insecurities. Through this process of introspection and personal reflection, the individual could realize that their fear actually stems from concerns about the judgment of others, the fear of making mistakes, or the feeling of not meeting societal expectations. By questioning these interpretations and reframing their understanding of public speaking, the individual could gradually perceive that their initial fears were perhaps exaggerated or based on unfounded assumptions. Nietzsche would then encourage this person to confront their fear directly and courageously by embracing the initial discomfort. The individual could start with concrete actions, such as speaking in front of friends or joining a public speaking group, gradually expanding their comfort zone. For Nietzsche, this approach would constitute an example of changing one's perspective on fear. Self-reflection, introspection, and actively confronting our fears are opportunities to transcend self-imposed limits and grow as individuals. As Nietzsche famously said, "What does not kill you makes you stronger." This striking aphorism encapsulates a fundamental idea of Nietzschean thought, namely that life's trials and difficulties do not merely serve to weaken us, but rather to strengthen us, to forge us, to make us more resilient. For Nietzsche, the will to power represents the inner drive that animates all living beings. It is a dynamic force that pushes us to seek mastery over ourselves and our environment, to assert our existence in the world. It is this will that drives us to overcome challenges, to transcend our limits, to become greater than we were before. Nietzsche saw the will to power as a crucial factor in the evolution of culture and society. He argued that the most dynamic and creative civilizations were those where this will to power was most alive. Thus, we can use this will to power to overcome our fears. First, it is essential to clearly identify the fears that hold us back. This may involve taking time to reflect on our fears, naming them, and understanding them in depth. Nietzsche encourages us to face our fears consciously and courageously, without seeking to avoid or deny them. Once we have identified our fears, it is time to assert our will to power. This means recognizing and cultivating our inner strength, determination, and capacity to overcome obstacles. The will to power encourages us to question the foundations of our fears. It is important to rationally examine our fears and determine whether they are based on real facts or distorted perceptions. Nietzsche invites us to see fears as mental constructs that can be overcome with strong will and critical thinking. Finally, to overcome fears, it is essential to act with boldness and determination. The will to power drives us to face our fears with courage, to take calculated risks, and to persevere despite obstacles.